Okay, I don't know where they got the music for that 51 seconds there, but that was we gotta make a change on that.
That was calm and tranquil. Yeah. Anybody still awake?
Okay, well, especially because I worked late last night. Because as you can see, I'm actually working. I'm on the show floor, and last night was the big NSYNC and Boys to Men kind of party. So yeah, I need better music than that because I'll be sleeping.
Fair enough. Well, okay, listeners, and viewers and whoever, welcome to. Well, this is the first live video broadcasting, recording thing, and there's lots more to come up. We're doing more. There's all of August.
We're doing 31 days in a row of going live.
And no excuses. Where we happen to be, we're going live from that place.
Yeah, and it's another group that we actually belong to. They're doing this big thing where they got a name for it, and you post when you go live. But we're not doing that. But we actually thought it would be an interesting exercise to go 31 days in a row, going live every day.
Yeah, so I'm really hoping that it'll become obvious that there is a big difference from the first day to the 31st day, that we have improved. The random chat is not so random. The lighting slightly better, location different. We've got to do better.
Well, and if we don't, maybe we got to just hang up our spurs.
Yeah. Well, if we're not any better, and it definitely seem to be going anywhere, that's it. We'll just quit quietly and just walk off into the distance.
But you will notice my video is better because I'm actually using the professional camera.
Well, we'll come to that, because the first question I've got is, okay, so where are you?
I am in the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia. Client event here at the Philadelphia Convention Center. And this is kind of a cool way to show that it's not that hard to go live from the exhibit floor, because I did and literally got here. Bob saw me coming in like a madman, setting everything up. I literally walked in here about 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, and it all seems to be working well.
Except the microphone.
Oh, well, let's talk about the equipment then. So what kind of headphones are you using for this?
So for this, I have a crappy pair of Anker Soundcore headphones, which are Bluetooth, and I never recommend Bluetooth headphones because I'm traveling. They're all I have.
In my experience of Bluetooth devices, because I've got all the inner ear phone ones you wander around with, so and there's always seems to be a little bit of a lag
on the Bluetooth.
On the Bluetooth, which can make a two-way conversation. When you're seeing somebody, as I can see you, the sound doesn't always match up with the Bluetooth headphones. Yeah. So that could be at least some problems.
Well, and generally, I actually wouldn't be using these, with the exception of, setting up so quickly this morning about when we could get in here. I actually have a setup that runs through the camera, and because I just ran out of time, and normally I wouldn't set up in 15 minutes, but I ran out of time. And so, as all planners know, and everybody in the event industry knows, when you run out of time, sometimes you have to punt. So this is me punting.
Well, that's fair enough. I mean, at a pinch, it works. Even if it is a little bit of a lag, it works. There is better, but you've got to carry it with you from place to place. It may not work on the day, or at that time is a funny thing happens. So as a backup, it still works. May not be a primary thing, but it works.
Well, and I think for this episode, because we're talking about going live from the show floor as just live throughout the event, being perfect actually doesn't matter. In fact, sometimes being perfect is the enemy of getting things done. There was a guy here yesterday, and I know you've got your gimbal. He just had his little gimbal with his phone on it, and he was going around and he was shooting a ton of videos. Well, you know what? They probably weren't perfect, but he has 50 more videos than everybody else has.
And not only that, obviously the video quality is up to the recording device. In my case, it's a phone. But you do get a better. The look of the video is better because you're not getting all the shake and the bounce and everything. I mean, this is my little Gimbally thing, which you would mount the phone into, and it works beautifully.
Yeah, they keep nice steady shots, and yours has like face tracking, doesn't it? So that it'll actually follow the person around.
Okay, so the neat trick is that there is an app available that will mate with the gimbal via Bluetooth, so the phone can talk to the gimbal. I did actually have to do a firmware upgrade to make that really work well. But basically, the app you just draw a box, just like a diagonal drag. It will then select that and follow it. And I've been practicing sitting the camera on a tripod still, and then tracking a person walking right to left. And it just works. It's really nice and smooth.
I gotta say, testing products is actually one of my favorite things that we do.
Oh yeah,
because you find some real gems, right? There are a couple things. There are a couple little tools I have, little gadgets, not anything I'll even talk about, but that cost $3 or £3, and I use them every day. But then there are certain things that I've paid $1,000 for, and I've used once. Done.
Yeah, this is it. So an event, I need to buy a headphone splitter so I can test out the Synco microphones, which is something we'll look at in another episode in the next week or so. Yeah, what are those? I mean, they're lovely. I love those.
So can I tell you what's actually wrong with my audio and why I wasn't able? Because I don't want anyone to think it was the poor Syncos. It was the poor Keith forgot to charge them.
Oh no!
Now, I've been working here since last Wednesday, so forgive me.
Yes, no worries. Well, as I say, hopefully by the 31st day, we will actually have this smooth and perfect, and it'll just all come out nice.
So I thought about it last night while NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys, Boyz II Men, NSYNC and Boyz II Men were up on the stage. I'm like, I have to charge the microphones.
Yeah. There's always these things, but the cheapest item I need to buy that will make all the difference is a microphone splitter, because my laptop has got the one connector that suits headphones, and a lot of headphones have the built-in microphone, so everything goes into the one socket. But if I'm having the Synco microphone coming into it to provide audio, and I want to listen to it at the same time, I can't do it. So I have to buy this cable. It's about £3.50. It's the cheapest thing, but it's going to allow a lot more to happen.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
And circling that back to going live while you're on a show floor, no matter what you get to do this, right? Test it. So get all that equipment, your phone or whatever you're going to use, or even a camera like this, and make sure you do it around the office. Because if you're in an office, if you're at home, go to the park, whatever. But but you do want to practice it. Only having 10 minutes to set up this morning, I almost had enough time to get these going, right? Only because I know this equipment so well. I was just clicking and going and boom, 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 boom. If I had just had 10 minutes to charge, I'd have been going.
Cool. So what else are you using? What about the camera? Because your video is really crisp clear, which is really nice.
Yeah, so for shooting on the show floor, we actually have two. This one is the Canon AX50, which is it is a camcorder, and it is a step below like Super Pro. What you would use for broadcast. And then we also have its tiny, little smaller cousin, the AX45. But these cameras are really, really good for some sessions if the lighting is really good in a room. But on the show floor where you've got all of these lights, these things are phenomenal. And they're relatively inexpensive. You can get a Canon AX50 for about $2,000 US.
Cool. And what about what microphone are you using at the moment then? If you're not using the Synco little boxes?
My computer.
Oh, well. Well, it works. I mean, what can I say? the common like the thing people say about video is, okay, you haven't got quite good quality video, but audio is everything.
Yes.
Because you have to be clear. Even if people's, I mean, like my video, it's only 720p, and I'm assuming yours was what, 1080p?
Which one? My camera? Sorry.
The one I'm looking at, the one using as well.
It's set to 1080p, but it does 4K.
Okay, cool. Mine's only 720, so immediately you see the difference in the quality.
Yeah.
But the thing is that's okay, providing your audio is crystal clear.
You can have 340p video, which, by the way, for most people, that's really old cell phone video. But if your audio is crystal clear, people will watch anything.
Yeah. And if it's sort of like a talking head situation, then the video becomes less important. If you're demonstrating a product or a service, then you've got to be clear on the video. But if you're doing a chat like we are now, then people may not care. They might just actually set it up and then walk away and listen to the audio only.
Oh yeah, but so here, this is also a flip side though. That is a great way to save a shot where perhaps there is no good video, but you can get good audio. You can actually just capture the audio. There is nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So on the equipment side, so we've done the webcam, we've done the audio, and to be honest, I mean, even if you can't get I'm bumbling now. This is terrible. So the audio, it may be coming through the laptop's built-in microphone, but I can still hear you.
Yes.
And you're still clear. It just lacks a little top end, so it's not so bassy or it's a little bit tinny sounding, but it works. So if you're going to go out and do it from a location, if you can remember to charge everything, if you can remember to bring the right microphones and the right equipment, that's great. But if you can't, then you can still do it. You can still do it with your laptop. You can still do it with something.
Yeah. The other thing is, if you are by yourself, or actually, even if it was somebody else, it's a silly statement, but bring a tripod. This camera is actually set. I have a little Go tripod that I use. Again, this is not the type of tripod that you're going to use for a shoot or using for a session where you're going to be moving the camera back and forth. But if you're on a show floor and it's a static shot, right? Perhaps you're stopping in someone's booth to interview someone in the booth. And we'll put links to this. I just have it's not the cheapest tripod, but it is a decent tripod, but it is more photography specific rather than video. But because my shot is just sitting here, it doesn't have to be a fluid head tripod that I can use to actually shoot great video and shoot a session. Exactly.
So if you're wandering around the show floor, you can be holding it in your hand, or you can set it up on a full height tripod and just take static video, or maybe have auto tracking enabled. But if you're sitting at a desk doing a talking head kind of interview situation, it works.
Yeah. Well, and with these two, right? When you're on the show floor, you can use the Syncos, right? Which are great because there's two of them and you can clip them on and do an interview style. But you can always get away with a short boom mic, shotgun mic. So for example, like the Rode Video Go, right? It could, if I had one with me, and I do have two of them, but I don't have it with me, I can put it right on top of the camera. It's going to get much better audio than the built-in microphones, obviously a laptop. And it won't be as good as a more of a traditional lavalier style microphone, but it's going to be good. Like if you look at the news, right? If they're out and a lot of times when they're out shooting footage for news crews, that's what they're using. They're not using, sometimes you see the reporter doing this, but not too often.
Yeah, not too. I mean, so not this past weekend, the weekend before, I went to, and there's a lot of country parks around me. So I went to a park with the Syncos and I had them clipped on, but also clipped on the little lavalier microphone. So it was about here, which I think the optimal position is about mid-chest. So about here to pick up properly. The thing is, the lavalier didn't pick up the wind sound, or actually had a lot less sound of the wind. Whereas if you use the Synco on its own with its own built-in microphone, then it was really noisy with the wind.
Like a raging hurricane.
Yeah, You can almost pretend to be somewhere in I'm here in a tornado. But yeah, so it does make a difference. And knowing when to use the right microphone for the right occasion, it's all important stuff.
Yes. So circling back and trying to get the first of our 31 days under our belt. I think the biggest thing with going live while you're on a show floor is people, and perfection is the enemy of getting anything done. Right. And so, organizations, when they go and they start to do this stuff, they always overthink it. Right. And they're going to bring 8,000 pieces of equipment and they're going to pay Encore $50,000, right, to get all this stuff done when you don't really need to, especially not at first. If you're not doing anything right now, do something, right? Get a gimbal with your phone and a good microphone and walk around. You can work up to that other stuff, right? But you really should start going live, to your Facebook page or LinkedIn page, whatever happens to be.
Well, I think the secret is to keep the gear count, the gadget count, really down. So again, I'm going to come back and talk about these gadgets as and when I've had a lot more practice with them. But for me, the Synco microphones we've briefly talked about, I've got the 2 receivers and 1 transmitter. It's all in there. I've got the, and this is my other gadget bag, which is cables, Zoom recorder. So it's just those 2. And then the gimbal just goes into a bag like that. So not overpacking, not going with, I must have a bag of lighting and I must have a backdrop, I must have this and that, because you end up with a small van's worth, which will put you off from doing it. So keep the gadget count down and just do it.
And did you see that? I'm like waving at people as they're walking by, because one of the benefits of show floor stuff is people get to see you doing this.
Oh yeah, and maybe accidentally become part of it.
So actually, yeah, you can't see people. People have been walking by me right here.
Okay, that's brilliant. Okay, so you've got audio or you've got video, obviously video with audio, but you've got podcast material, you've got YouTube or whatever service you like to use material. What are you going to do with it during the conference or event, and what you do with it afterwards?
Do I understand that question?
Okay, so you've got a podcast recording and you've got video recordings that you've made at the conference or event.
Oh, now what are we going to do with them?
Now what would we do with it? Yes. I thought that was a simple question. Have you had enough coffee today or what?
No.
Okay. It's just you then.
As I spill my coffee, but all right. Obviously, if you're going live during an event, right, it's live, right? So it's going to be on your Facebook page or LinkedIn page, whatever. It'll be there in perpetuity. But you can, for the other items and things you don't use, repurpose them. Right, you can put together great clips. You can get testimonials. One of the things that a lot of events, conferences, and events don't do is have a small little team, couple people that walk around on the show floor or in the hallways and actually capture testimonials. Those testimonials, once you get them, you've got the video, that's great. You've got the audio that you can actually include in a podcast episode or whatever you're doing. But you can also take those and type them out, and those are great testimonials for a website, for a prospectus, whatever it happens to be. And that's a really easy thing to do. Other stuff is, if you're capturing, if you're sitting down and doing something live, and let's say it goes long. Let's say you do something that's 20 or 30 or 40 minutes long, like we're going to be at some point. Break those up. Once the conference is over, you can break those up and put together a really nice little montage of things that went on during the event.
Yeah. When I was at the meeting show and obviously the business travel show, because it's all the same place, there were people wandering around with a microphone attached to a man with a camera. Well, it was attached to the camera, not attached to the man, obviously. But
it'd be way cooler. It'd be way cooler if it was attached to the man.
Yeah. Oh, imagine the grimace on his face. Oh, painful. But anyway, so they did interviews they actually had a little booth where they would do like conference meetings. Well, might drag somebody in for a chat and do like an interview, and then have it broadcast within the venue. But the one thing I've noticed is that they must have recorded many hours worth of content, but didn't seem to be putting out much afterwards.
It is such a and I get that. I actually worked an event, and I actually wasn't involved on this side of it. It was, we were a team for something else.
Yeah,
but they must have recorded 8-10 hours worth of video, and it sat on a shelf forever and was never seen again.
Yeah, there's so much you can do with it. You can put it out, you can do it live, you could actually broadcast it in its entirety afterwards. Then you could do clips for social media purposes. You could do blog post versions of it. You could do podcast versions of it. It's just
well, and that was a silly statement on I do know the why. The why is for most conference planning teams, right? When you leave the show floor, you're the whole team, right? And at that point, you get busy with other things. There is, post-conference, post-expo stuff. There is this, there's that. The next thing you know, 3 months have gone by, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. So I think for anyone who's doing something like this, the live stuff is the live stuff, right? It is live, just like this. Yeah. There's nothing you can do. It is what it is. But for those other materials you're going to capture as you're walking around, testimonials, interviews, things like that, have the person that's going to edit the video or make the video presentable, have them ready and briefed. Now, for example, we work with a team of folks in Chicago and not for this event, but for another client event, the second the wheels hit the ground, I drive by, I hand off a hard drive full of all, a terabyte full of data. And 4 days later, I get back wonderfully edited videos that I hand back to my client that they post and they do things with. So have that plan of what you're going to do with that video rather than capturing the video and going, right?
Yeah, I can understand it if you're a small team putting on a large event, because small teams are more than capable of doing so. There is that afterwards, all your stuff has to be packed away. You have to then, there's any billing involved, there's the admin, and then you've got to get ready for the next thing you're doing. So that small brief period has to include video editing or audio editing.
Yes.
So if you can't build it into the budget for the client, then you've got to find some way of getting it done so it's usable. But it's not, and it's not always possible, which is a shame. But
no, but you'd be surprised at how video editing used to be something that was a very expensive proposition, right? It really was. It was
time consuming.
And time consuming. But now, you've got a lot of great smaller operations that can get things done cost effective, right? I'm not going to say it's super cheap because sometimes it isn't, right? But at least the cost makes sense. But the way the tools are now, whether they're using, Adobe or they're using DaVinci Resolve, whatever it happens to be, they can really crank these videos out fast, right? If they know what the end goal is, right? And they know that you want, 4 testimonials with a, interstitial thing and whatever, they can jam that out super, super quick and you can get things back in a couple of days. Longer editing things, of course, it's going to take longer. But for some of those, really simple things, they can turn those around super fast.
Yeah. And you don't want to lose that momentum of the show happening and then the release of the videos and audio content, because then people don't care afterwards. So you've got to keep that momentum going. Well, this brings us. So I was going to say, this brings us up to 25 minutes.
It does, and so we got to wrap this up. But then tomorrow we got to let people know and I don't even know if I told you, but tomorrow's a late night for you because I've got to fly back to Chicago and then we'll do our live one in the afternoon my time.
Right. So in that case, for all listeners and people watching, if there is any. Please keep an eye out on the Event Planner News Facebook page, the Planner Wire Facebook page, and the Bullet List group, because notifications of when the exact timings for each day's broadcast will be put on those pages. So if you want to keep up, so want to know what's going on, please follow, subscribe, join in, and take notes, because that's the way you're going to find out. We'll try and do tweets as well, but those are the main places we'll be making the announcements on timings.
But yeah, good luck with getting us to do anything on a schedule or on time.
Well, the plan was to do 31 days, but the thing is, the reality is that we both got day jobs, right? So that means
to do this, we are making it 31 days in a row.
It's still going to be. We're still doing it. It's just the timing may be slightly different each day.
Yes. So yeah. So tomorrow will be a little bit later in the day, and then the next day we'll be right back to regular time.
Yeah, that's the plan. Okay, so just to finish. Sorry, I should have had this Evernote open beforehand. So coming up, we have in the next 31 days, we will be talking about them. Looking this way for this, we're going to talk about some really cool tools like Stage Timer and Prompt Smarts, Brandbird. We're going to talk about Synco microphones. I've recently got a set of Synco gadgets, and I'm really looking forward to planning using them and using them while doing this on the 31 day thing. We've got printing badges on the cheap. We should be talking to Stuart Mitchell again.
A couple times, I think.
Actually, it might be 3 times.
He's keen.
He's keen. We haven't put him off yet, but he's keen. And we've got product reviews. And then on the very last day, August 31st, we'll be looking back at how we've done and whether we should bother carrying on or not. But anyway,
it's a good thing we do this for fun.
Yes, it is. I wouldn't want to rely on this for anything else. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff coming up. If anybody's got any questions, please go to the Planner page, the Event Planner News page,
Bullet
list group, and leave questions, ask, suggest topics. If you'd like to be a guest, please let us know, and we'll go from there. So exciting times ahead.
See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.